Hello fellow campervan converters. Today I'm going to show you another part of my self-build. Just to remind you, this is a 15 plate Renault Master costing around about £9,000, and it took me 6 weeks to convert it and cost about £7,000 in materials. So today I'm going to show you the electric system. Okay, so what we've got here is our 240 volts in. So this is the point where we'll plug into a caravan campsite or even the generator, and that will power the van with 240 volts. So there are two systems to campervan conversion electrics, the first one being 240 volts and the second one being 12 volts. Now obviously if you're not qualified, then the 240 volts is something that you should consider very carefully, perhaps get a proper electrical engineer to install it, or failing that, do the installation yourself and then get them to check it and certify it. But basically in my van I've got 6 sockets just like this, so it's normal 12 volt 240 volt mains. And basically the only thing you need to remember is that when you put any electrical stuff into your van, you need to have an earth to the chassis and also an earth to your stainless steel sink and the gas pipe, so just the same as you would in a normal household. So remember to buy yourself an earth bond when you put the electrical sockets in. So that's basically it for the 240 volts. There's nothing more to it, just a set of sockets there. Now for the electrics, this is the second conversion I've done, and on both units I've used the same electrical control panel. So what I chose was the Sargent EC160. Now the reason I chose that is because it's smart looking, it's all compact, and it fits really well, and it's also got every single feature that you need. So what I did was I put all the wiring in first before we did the ceilings and walls. Really important. So get a piece of paper, plan out your lighting and your sockets and things like that, and then put all the wiring in before you start to line the van. So for example, I've got little LED lights across the ceiling, so the wires were dropped in before I did the ceiling. Inside the cupboard units, we've got lighting that comes on when you open the door, so we ran a cable round for that. We've got a couple of spotlights in the corners there, and our water heater, which again I'll explain in another video. Our water heater is located in the bathroom under there, and that does require 12 volt as well, so because it works on mains and gas, but it also needs a 12 volt supply. Across the top there we've got the hi-fi system, and that requires a 12 volt all the time. So my suggestion is basically when you put your wiring in is to run a 12 volt live all the time cable all the way around the van like so, and then you can tap into it as and where you need it. So same with this one here, you see the spotlight here, that's on its own switch, so that requires a 12 volt all the time. 12 volt electrics for a van is not rocket science. You only need to run the positive all the way around because you can earth off to the chassis for any appliances that you put in. So going back to our control panel, I'll give you a quick tour of this. So this is the main side of it. So we've got proper mains RCD circuit breakers. Very useful is the reverse polarity, so if you pull up at a campsite or anything and the wiring is the wrong way around, that will glow. It has a built-in battery charger, so when that's on and you're driving, the split charge relay inside the unit will charge the leisure battery from the vehicle battery, and also when you're on the mains plugged in, it will also charge it through the mains. Obviously our voltage there, and it shows me at the moment that we're on the leisure battery. If I change that to the vehicle battery, it shows me the health of the vehicle battery. Main off, so that's the whole unit off, but it also gives you a couple of switches here. So the lights, or the auxiliary, I've used this one for the mains lights across the top there, the 12 volt lights in the ceiling, because that's the one we use the most. Water pump there, so when we use the taps, and I'll explain that in the next video, which is the water system. In here we have all the fuses for the different things, so the charger, lights, auxiliary, fridge, pump, and the permanent as well. So from this Sargent unit I fed another control panel here, and this is basically to give me more control over the individual items. So for example, when I want the TV on, we just flick that one and the TV is fed through the 12-volt marine socket there. Look. We have a cooking light, so that's the light above the hob there. Floor lights, that's the one we leave on at night all the time, and basically it's just blue mood lighting on the floor level, so it saves you when you're wandering about in the dark. The audio system is to isolate that, and there's a light in the toilet which is controlled by that one. It also gives me some USB outlets there, so that's really handy. And there's an extra TV point and the satellite and TV antenna there, which is on the roof. So that's basically the electrical system. Really good system, works very well, very easy to install, and it does everything that it's supposed to do. So when you're doing your 12-volt electrics for your van, remember, as I said, plan it out on paper first, because once you've put the ceiling in and the walls, you'll have a job to put any more wiring in. So plan it all out on paper first, and don't forget things like your fridge, which will require 12-volt supply, and any lights in cupboards and things like that. With the water system, these taps have a micro switch on, so when you turn the tap on, it automatically activates the water pump. Now I've bypassed that. I don't particularly like those. I like to have more control over the water pump, so I didn't use the micro switch, but I rely on this. So when we need water running, we literally put the pump on there and then turn the tap, and that works perfectly. So when it comes to the leisure battery, I've put the leisure battery in the back of the van under the bed, and it's in a proper battery carrying unit that's strapped down to the van, so there's no movement whatsoever. It's also easy to get to if we have an issue or if it needs replacing.